Folks wanted it taken down at the South Carolina Capitol grounds. Then came calls to remove Confederate flag merchandise from retail stores. And now some are calling to rename and rededicate city streets and parks across the country that were named for Confederate generals. NASCAR has banned the flag from the stands. The Dukes are off TV. And now people are asking exactly how far we want to go when it comes to scrubbing our history. Mark Thiessen is a Fox News contributor and former chief presidential speechwriter to President George W. Bush. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you, Megan.
And it's amazing. They're actually pulling down statues, vandalizing them of Confederate generals. And the question really is, how far are we going to take this?
It's unbelievable. And I agree with John Schneider. He said, can't we all just watch TV? I mean, the Dukes of Hazzard was not about race. It was about moonshine and short shorts and fast cars. It had nothing to do with race. What is accomplished by banning the Dukes of Hazzard? And, I mean, we've gone into a miasma of political correctness in this country. And quite frankly, this impulse to wash away history is Stalinist. I mean, Joseph Stalin used to erase people from pictures, to erase their existence from history. Why would we be following that impulse to erase people from history? I'm speaking to you right now from Washington, D.C., which is named for a man who owned slaves. Are we going to change our nation's capital's name? Are we going to ban the Jefferson Memorial? Are we going to rename Washington State? It's how far does this go?
Right. Bonus points for using the word miasma, by the way. But you're right, because you can get rid of all the George Washington. I mean, forget, the dollar bill, forget Jefferson, the nickel's going away. You can go down the list, and not to mention if you want to go back to more recent history to talk about, okay, well, let's talk about something more recent. And people are still walking around with some of the pains of the Jim Crow era. You got, we talked about this last night, All in the Family's got to go, F-Troops got to go, Hogan's Heroes has got to go. I mean, the list goes on, never mind, I mean, like, the Jeffersons, that's got to, like, anything that touches on race that might require a trigger warning has now got to go under the standard.
It's unbelievable. And, the thing about it is, Megan, is that it has nothing to do with what the reality of the South is today. I mean, if you want to see how far race relations have come in this country, just look at the reaction to the Charleston shooting. There were no race riots. The city didn't burn. Blacks and whites and people of all races and creeds and colors came together. They prayed together. They mourned together. There was a unity chain across the Ravenel Bridge of thousands of people stretching for 2 miles in either direction of people of all races.
So who's causing this? So if it's not the actual Southerners involved in what happened in Charleston, who is causing this and to what end?
It's white liberals from places like New York and Los Angeles who want to feel better about themselves. I mean, the fact is, we saw in Charleston that the reality of the New South. Black and white united together. There was no discord. They came together, and it's these white liberals from the Northeast and California who are trying to do this. The fact of the matter is,
So what about it? I mean, is it about the Confederate flag, which to some is genuinely offensive and disturbing, or is it about a general disdain for, a negative perception of people who live in the South?
That's exactly what it is. It's not about a flag. It's about a people who live in the South. It's a perception among these people in the elites that all Southerners are racists and bigots who basically agree with the Charleston shooter and what he did. And as we saw in Charleston, that is absolutely untrue. And the fact of the matter is,
and yet you've got former civil rights leaders coming out. Including Andrew Young, who says the following about the people pulling the Dukes of Hazzard, which he is against. Listen to him.
The problems we face don't have anything to do with the flag. The fact is that 93% of the black people killed are killed by other black people. So if Black Lives Matter, let us start believing that we matter.
How about that, Mark?
Yeah, he's exactly right. So here's some stats from the FBI's hate crimes database. In 2013, which is the last year for which we have statistics, there were exactly 5 murders in America that were classified as hate crimes, and only one of those was anti-black. By contrast, if you look at those statistics, there were 2,491 murders of African Americans, and 90% of those were committed by other African Americans, while there were 3,005 white people killed, and 83% of those were killed by other whites. So in America today, if you're white, you're most likely to be killed by a white person. If you're black, you're most likely to be killed by another black person. And almost none of these are hate crimes. So there's no race war going on in America today.
And yet the Dukes of Hazzard has got to go, and TV Land has caved. Mark, good to see you.
Thanks, Megan.